Hi, I'm Congressman Scott Perry. At the beginning of each legislative session week, I send out a brief update about the bills the House of Representatives likely will consider, which are as follows. H.R. 1023, the Small Business Investment Company Capital Act of 2015, which amends the Small Business Investment Act of 1958 to increase from $225 million to $350 million the maximum amount of outstanding leverage to be made available by the Small Business Administration to two or more commonly controlled small business investment companies not under capital impairment. H.R. 2670, the Microloan Modernization Act of 2015, which is to amend the Small Business Act to provide for expanded participation in the microloan program and for other purposes. H.R. 2499, the Veterans Entrepreneurship Act of 2015, which is to amend the Small Business Act to increase access to capital for veteran entrepreneurs to help create jobs and for other purposes. H.R. 208, the Superstorm Sandy Relief and Disaster Loan Program Improvement Act of 2015, which requires the administrator of the Small Business Administration to establish a loan program under which, for at least 1 year, a small business, homeowner, or renter that was located within a declared major disaster area during Superstorm Sandy in 2012 may apply for a loan to 1. Repair, rehabilitate, or replace property damaged or destroyed because of the storm, or 2. Assist a small business that suffered substantial economic injury because of it. H.R. 387, the Economic Development Through Tribal Land Exchange Act, which is to provide for certain land to be taken into trust for the benefit of the Morongo Band of Mission Indians and for other purposes. Senate 179, which is to designate the facility of the United States Postal Service located at 14 3rd Avenue Northwest in Chisholm, Minnesota as the James L. Oberstar Memorial Post Office Building. H.R. 251, the Homes for Heroes Act of 2015, which is to transfer the position of Special Assistant for Veterans Affairs in the Department of Housing and Urban Development to the Office of the Secretary and for other purposes. H.R. 432, the SBIC Advisors Relief Act, which is to amend the Investment Advisors Act of 1940 to prevent duplicative regulation of advisors of small business investment companies. H.R. 1047, the Housing Assistance Efficiency Act, which is to authorize private nonprofit organizations to administer permanent housing rental assistance provided through the Continuum of Care program under the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act and for other purpose. H.R. 1334, the Holding Company Registration Threshold Equalization Act of 2015, which is to amend the Securities and Exchange Act of 1934 to make the shareholder threshold for registration of savings and loan holding companies the same as for bank holding companies. H.R. 1408, the Mortgage Servicing Asset Capital Requirements Act of 2015, which is to require certain federal banking agencies to conduct a study of the appropriate capital requirements for mortgage servicing assets for non-systemic banking institutions and for other purposes. H.R. 1675, the Encouraging Employee Ownership Act of 2015, which is to direct the Securities and Exchange Commission to revise its rules as to increase the threshold amount for requiring issuers to provide certain disclosures relating to compensatory benefit plans. H.R. 1723, the Small Company Simple Registration Act of 2015, which directs the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, to revise Form S-1 so that smaller reporting company may incorporate by reference in a registration statement filed on that form any document it files with the SEC after the registration statement's effective date. H.R. 1847, the Swap Data Repository and Clearinghouse Indemnification Correction Act of 2015, which is to amend the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 and the Commodity Exchange Act to repeal the indemnification requirements for regulatory authorities to obtain access to swap data to be provided by swaps entities under such acts. H.R. 2064, the Improving Access to Capital for Emerging Growth Companies Act, which is to amend certain provisions of the securities laws relating to the treatment of emerging growth companies. H.R. 2482, the Preservation, Enhancement, and Savings Opportunity Act of 2015, which is to amend the Low Income Housing Preservation and Resident Home Ownership Act of 1990. H.R. 2997, the Private Investment in Housing Act of 2015, which is to authorize the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development to carry out a demonstration program to enter into budget-neutral, performance-based contracts for energy and water conservation improvements for multifamily residential units. And finally, H.R. 2898, the Western Water and American Food Security Act of 2015, which is to provide drought relief in the state of California and for other purposes. As always, if you have any questions or if I may be of assistance to you in any way, please contact me at perry.house.gov. That's perry.house.gov. Again, this is Scott Perry, and I hope you have a fantastic week.